y'all will regret it, I promise you. This is what Trayce Jackson-Davis said immediately following the NBA draft. And for Warriors fans, this is exactly what they were hoping to hear. Despite averaging 20, 10, 4, and 3, and being considered a late first-round talent, the Golden State Warriors picked up Jackson-Davis with the 57th pick in the draft. And this could be the first bit of drafting genius from the Dubs post-Bob Myers. I mean, guys, highlights aren't everything, but not many players can make plays like this.
Inside, Jackson-Davis again. 43% of the season. Jackson-Davis coming with some nasty. Look at that spin. My goodness. This defense from Gilmore. Jackson-Davis drops. Jackson-Davis spin cycle. Bates goes full court length. Trayce Jackson-Davis spin baseline. Good night, sweetheart.
But what makes Jackson-Davis such an interesting pick is he could be ready to play right away. Did I mention he's 23 and was just voted a consensus All-American in his last year in college? And it's much more than just being mature. Trayce might have the perfect game for the Warriors. Watch right here. Jackson-Davis comes up to set the screen. Miami blitz the ball handler, so Trayce slips it, takes one dribble and throws a perfect pass to an open shooter. Or on this play where once again two defenders go to the ball handler, Jackson-Davis ghosts the screen and it's a quick read to the cutter. Do I need to explain why this skill set could be useful? You guys already know exactly what I'm talking about. Who gets blitzed more than anyone in NBA history? Yeah, and it's not just Steph Curry. Klay Thompson can also draw two defenders coming off screens as well. And it's not just making passes out of those short pick and roll situations, but his decision making in general when defenses commit two players to the ball handler is just really good. He's got the tools to take one or two dribbles before hitting a floater or just getting straight to the rim. He can also do things like this, where the defense overcommits just a bit, so he spins out of trouble before dropping a dime. He doesn't have your average skill set for a center, and that's exactly why he's perfect for the Dubs, because they don't require your average skill set from a center. Don't just take my word for it though. Steve Kerr said the exact same thing. Talking to our scouts, the guys who do this all year long, they loved his ability to make plays out of the pocket in the pick and roll. So you can picture him setting a screen for Steph, rolling to the rim, catching a lob, and finishing. But also if they blitz Steph, for example, he can get into that short roll, catch and move the ball on like Draymond does so well. And this is why he's perfect. Because you heard Steve Kerr mention catching lobs from Steph Curry. Well, you guys do remember the Dubs' newest signing, right? He's only one of the greatest lob passers in NBA history. I mean, guys, DeAndre Jordan was an all-NBA player alongside CP3, shooting 70% from the field from 2014 to 2017, feeding off the point guard's playmaking. Now, he's not the same player he was then, but even DeAndre Ayton got a max contract, and Jock Landale just signed a $30 million deal after playing with CP3. So it's safe to say, he's still pretty capable of getting his big man good looks, and this is all he's going to need to do on offense. Use his athleticism to catch lobs and to make quick decisions when Steph Curry gets trapped. This right here is the difference between a guy like Trayce Jackson-Davis and James Wiseman. TJD doesn't have the same potential as Wiseman did out of college, but he just gets it. Some of the traits he has as a playmaker and decision maker you can't teach. Also, the expectations aren't remotely the same. The Dubs had to try to develop Wiseman with the idea of him becoming a future star. If TJD becomes a rotation player, that's a huge win at the 57th pick. But don't get it twisted, that doesn't mean he has a low ceiling. If these last few years have taught us anything, you don't need to be one and done to become a star in the NBA. I mean, there are flashes of him having more potential than just catching lobs. How about running the break in transition and looking like Magic Johnson at times? Or even better, his best passing attribute are some of the dimes he drops out of double teams. Now, I don't expect him to get double teamed on a team with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Chris Paul, but not every big can make plays like this. He gets doubled, spins away from the double before throwing a cross-court dime with two defenders right in his face. I also look forward to what we could potentially see him develop into as a scorer, because he didn't average 20 a game by just catching lobs. And the reason he got doubled was because, well, he's got some rare skills. Now, I will say Trace is very, very left-hand dominant, but that also makes for some pretty sick highlights. Like here, he's posted up, he fakes a pass before spinning and throwing it down. All the while, the ball never leaves his left hand. And that's because despite being left-hand dominant, the one thing in his favor is he has huge Kawhi Leonard-like hands, where he's able to cuff the ball and hold it 360 degrees without losing control, which also gives him some of those advantage making those cross-court passes out of double teams. But it's also the quickness at which he's able to spin out of post-ups or when he gets the ball in the middle of the floor. When Trace puts the ball down, he doesn't look remotely like a center. He looks more like a big athletic wing. I know I've said this a lot, but how many bigs can make plays like this? He sets the screen, rolls out of it, and then a casual reverse finish around the tower that is Zach Edey. He has this rare combination of being able to impose his physicality against smaller defenders, but then having agility and dexterity against bigger defenders to make them look sluggish and slow. And for some reason, if you guys still aren't convinced by his offensive skill set, I want you to watch this play. Trace brings the ball up the floor. He kicks it to the guard. He then gets post position, spins away from the first defender before avoiding the second defender with a right-handed reverse layup. You guys realize this is a big man doing all of this. A big man. Don't expect to see much of this in the regular season, but this is just for people who think he's strictly a lob threat. There's so much potential there, and I haven't even mentioned the other side of the ball. He averaged a casual 3 blocks a game in college, and whilst he's a little bit undersized, I mean, Warriors fans should know better than anyone, that doesn't determine how good you can be defensively, particularly at the 4 and the 5 position. But despite being undersized, he's still a serious rim protector with his athleticism, often playing in drop coverage, using solid footwork to keep the ball handler honest, but also prevent the big man from getting easy looks, like on this play, which is just absolutely textbook. He starts by sliding over to the ball handler. The second he realizes the ball handler is passing, he then rotates back over and in an instant swats it away at the rim. And the benefit of him not being a huge center is whilst he might struggle against the Jokic's and Embiid's of the world, newsflash, so does everyone else, but he can make up for it with his ability to move his feet in pick and roll situations or even switching onto the perimeter, all the whilst being able to serve as a rim protector with his elite athleticism and timing on blocks. I don't want you guys to get too excited just yet, but there's a lot of reason to believe Trayce Jackson-Davis could be the steal of the draft, and I'm not the only one suggesting that either. Anyways, if you did make it all the way to the end of the video, a like would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Have a great day. Bye.